supposed to be doing? How are you going to know? How are you going to be able to reprimand them if they're not? How are you going to be able to reward them if they are?
I think it would be quite an undertaking, and I'm not against there being something to study it, but I got to be honest with you, I can definitely see some people that based on who would be on the select board that would survive that and who wouldn't. I'll be honest with you on that. Let's be clear about that.
I don't know. See, I don't think there's anybody who want to get rid of any employees that be cut.
Well,
I think it would be one of those things where it would literally take a lot for anybody like board to want to say that this employee needs to go now.
I think that's true. They are. That's right. If people aren't happy with the way the select board is doing with supervising the department heads, they can boot us out. I do believe that's one of the reasons why some people want to go to the 3-person select board, is to get it to a more malleable group where you can have 2 people who will want to get a department head out. And I really foresee that being a long-term goal, or even less long-term, more short-term goal for some people.
After Joe. Joe Bailey?
Hey, for the school board. Hey, forward. At the last delivery like that, I got a little upset. Everybody, the scores, the school is crap. Give it 2 or 3%, plus or minus whatever. The school board tells the SAU what they need to do. They don't tell you, okay? They work for us. They take our money to do a job that we need to have done. Everybody in the school board that's existing, pushing that issue, okay? So, if you get elected, okay, I really, really hope that going down the road, that it's not just that go by because of that. If we need to change the SAUs to somebody else, then look into it, because they're not doing us justice. Okay? When you're begging for information, for us to make a decision as voters on our taxes and stuff, whatever, it's a big issue, obviously. We're Middleton, we're not Wolfboro. We don't have that kind of money. Okay? They work for us, make them work for us. Just don't sit back and say we can't do nothing. Because I won't re-elect you if you don't.
So, off of, this is for the select board because John brought it up, the going to a 3-person board, I want to know what your trade-offs are, why you're against it versus why you're for it. In the history of Middleton, we've always had a 3 until recently, and from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like there's been a very big benefit of having 5 people versus 3. I would love to hear, there's no I would love to just hear, weigh the options, to make me figure out why we should have 5.
I think more people is better. It's like the New Hampshire legislature, where the people are closer to the person who represents them in Concord. It's really I don't see the downside. You get people from a cross-section of life in town, different employment experience, different. A 3-member board, you need 2 for a quorum. That's a pretty dull meeting, 2 people. As it is, you're involving more people probably in an election. If you look at the election in which Tim was elected and Tracy was elected, and let's see, Mike was elected, and look at the turnout for that town election. That was a pretty doggone good turnout. Why? A lot of candidates energizing their base. Plus you had other people who were on the ballot who didn't make it and they had their base energized. I think more involvement is good. I think that we benefit a lot from it. One of the key things about it is when you're talking about representation on the various boards and committees in towns, as well as liaisons for the different departments, it's pretty tough out of a group of 3 to meet all of that, plus all of the other requirements of the job effectively. Plus, there may be a department in town that would really, really, really not like me to be the liaison. They should be able to have that choice to have someone that is a person they can actually connect with better. I'm not saying someone who looks over things, doesn't really, gives a blind eye to what they're doing. I'm saying someone that actually they feel is supportive and listening to them and what their needs are, and a good relationship like I have with my supervisor in my regular job. So I think, I don't see I don't see the downside of having a larger board. It also keeps us from going down the road to trying to get a town administrator, which I know some people think would be a good idea. I just don't think right now, particularly with the 2% cap that we have, which I think in-house they've proven what they can do. For anyone who's been going to board meetings at all for like the last 5 years or so, I admit, I didn't start going until somewhere around just before COVID. This wasn't when Joe was serving on the board, but there was a board that came in before Roxanne's first term with a couple other women that came into the board. The amount of work they had to do with audits that weren't complete, with actual bills, I'm talking actual bills, not pay. Calls they had to put in to get feedback from different places, to get to, like, from different places where they own bills. I can't even think of some of them where they said, hey, can you give us a grace? Can you give us a discount? Can we make this happen? I can't imagine the amount of hours they're putting in. I do have a fairly good idea of the amount of hours that some of the select board are putting in right now. And I just think the 5 is better. I'd like to ask people, and I know it's not me asking you questions, but I'd like to ask people who are putting it forward, what are you hoping to get out of this? I know it sounds cynical. My guess is people want to get to the 3 board, hoping they can get 2 people that are in their corner, and that will then determine who will be the...
Select board members aren't showing up, we can go down to a three-person member, or a 3-person board. As far as the benefits for a 3-person board is speed, and ideally the disadvantages is that, yeah, you have 2 people who can agree with each other and make all the decisions. The idea is that when you have a 5-person board, it's harder to have 3 people constantly making the same decisions. The workload tends to be easier with a 5-person board, and that's, as far as I can tell, the advantages and disadvantages. I'd just like to address the idea of getting rid of the fire chief or a police chief or a highway guy. I honestly don't see the board having that much ability to do it, especially when they answer to the public.
Well, they don't directly answer to the public. That's absolutely not the truth. They answer to the Board of Selectmen. That's who they answer
I'm
to.
talking about the selectmen.
Oh, the selectmen. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I thought you meant the department head.
No,
Okay.
department heads, yeah, what's up? Department heads are the only board employees. Everybody below department heads, we don't have any say over it.
No, absolutely. So, no, yeah, but I think particularly there's been a lot of tense questioning toward the highway department in recent board meetings, sometimes to the point where the level was just not even appropriate. And believe me, I believe in asking, tough questions. Also, more recently, the police department.
Would you say that came from the select board, or would you say that came from the general public?
That came from the general public, but it might have been better to have shut it down a little bit, saying, hey, listen, it has to be appropriate. Some of it really became very ridiculous outside even, in the face.
I tend to agree with outside but outside we have no control over that.
Well, outside the building, you absolutely
Right.
do. Right out on the lawn, you do.
There's no way we can tell them what's up, people go away.
You absolutely do.
It's a public building. It's
No,
their building.
if someone is engaging in what was a threatening speech, you absolutely do.
Well, that's when it all depends on what you consider to be threatening speech. I mean, what would you say? Would they say, I'm going to hurt this person, I'm going to cause this person bodily harm?
There seemed like it probably could have been that. And I stayed around just because I wanted to be able to be a witness if something did happen, because things had escalated to that level. And it's just clear to me there's a certain group of residents in town that seem to be pointing their fingers at the highway department, the police department, and even when a select board member was asked to go look at a wage study to determine whether the 4-day work week was working or not for the highway department, and produced that information, members of the public shut them right down, even though that was done. They said, I didn't ask you. I think that sometimes the board meetings have gotten out of hand. I think they need to be reined in. There's an appropriate way to voice people's concerns. And it also, one of the things that's been noticeable is not everyone is being asked to give their name and address. Yet every time I've spoken in the last 3 meetings, I've been asked to, whereas family members of yours have not been asked to by you. I wonder why that would be.
Well,
I think I'm as well known as your family in town, probably.
Honestly, that's a mistake I've made, but for example, the last meeting I caught that, and I actually asked Barry Reynolds to address himself.
You did as well.
And that's one of those things where, honestly, I feel as though we're constantly learning, but at no time has anybody been targeted. The idea is to make sure
All right.
that people continue on.
Some more questions.
Okay.
Ingrid had her hand up.
Actually, that was my question. I wanted to know
see Woodstock can go out of the way. I have no preference whether it's 3 or 5, to be honest with you.
I think it's better for 5. I mean, really, the amount of influence I would have on a 3-person board, I don't think that's great. I think it's better to have 5 people. You have less influence working together more. It's a no-brainer to me. I go with the 5, very firm on that.
Tracy, did you have a question? You're on. Can we take a minute and fix John's microphone?
Oh, what's wrong with it?
Shut it off.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Sorry.
And, I guess my question, comment would be, I did the petition for 5 members because our select board was very brotherhood all together. And I
Yeah.
just heard Tim state that it's very hard to get 5 members to vote all together. As a resident in town, I don't want my
Yeah.
elected officials to vote together. I want a
Nobody
representation
does.
of the town.
Exactly.
John, how do you feel about this since we know how Tim,
Yeah.
how do you feel about all together voting?
I think the more divergent the opinions, the better. I mean, I've gone to a lot of meetings, and there have been times I said, yeah, I agree with Tim on this one, I don't with him on this one. I agree with Roxanne on this one, I don't with this one. So I know already, there would be areas where I would say, I don't really agree with this particular thing. And I think it just helps to have more voices there. And again, I was one of the citizens who back in around 2000 or whatever it was, who said, hey, can we look at some more affordable options? See if there's, just to do a study, see if there's more affordable options to having sheriff coverage here. So the then police chief got all the people and just mobbed the place, and everyone was saying the selectmen are going to end the police department. That was not it at all. Their job is to study things, to get information. It was very clear from the information that was presented, it was not an affordable or a best option. I like a local police department. I think it's much better to have the person living in town, ideally, which is really good. Someone we know, someone who's served on a variety of boards, someone we know how he is as a father and a citizen. I like that. I would much prefer that than having the other option. The reason I was asking for that is Freedom had done that. Unity, New Hampshire had done that. Some other towns had done that as a means of providing. I think it's unfortunately it's such reactionary situations that happen where people come with their torches and pitchforks ready to string up the selectmen for simply inviting a sheriff here to answer some questions.
So I think that my comments were misunderstood. I'm not saying I want a select board all agree. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that generally speaking, the more diverse cost comes from having a larger select board. But at the same time, there are times when I think that you're going to get 3 people who are going to have diverse opinions no matter what. So whether it's a board conversation happening.
Other questions? Joanne?
Everyone comes to Joanne, or pick on the school board. As not having school and yet being responsible for paying taxes, I feel kind of sometimes left out of the loop. Yes, I know I can get onto social media and get all the information stuff. But could you, as school board members, think of ways to involve people who do not have children in the school, to inform them as to sometimes things, we do have a board out in front of the town hall to put notice on, you have one in front of the school to put notices. Maybe to get some of the, I'm not talking ages here, but some of the older grandparently type people, maybe to get them involved in helping with reading programs or math programs or something. Can you think of some ways that or would you be in favor of getting some of the people who do not have children in schools, getting them more involved in things?
And it's only beneficial to have more of the community, whether you have children or not, to be involved in the school. So, I mean, I know, a lot of the elderly, they're not on Facebook, they're not on Instagram or any of those. So, and you're not getting anything sent home in your children's backpack or anything like that. Could it be costly to mail things? Maybe. I mean, it's 74 cents, at least for municipalities. I would assume it's the same for school. We don't have a lot of residents in town, so I mean, it's like financially, I'm pretty sure that the school could afford doing something like that too. You know, they could, I know that they're always looking for volunteers at the school for their classrooms.
But how do people who don't have children hear about it?
Well, that's the thing. Well, so that's why, like, you know, if they were to mail stuff, and it really, and I talked to the town about utilizing that board in front of the school. I don't think is that great. It's not, you know, from the road.
I have thought of, you know, a paper newsletter. I know we don't have a town newspaper. I think, honestly, personally, I think it would be amazing, because I'm not always aware of some of the things that are going on in town either. Even with social media, I think that we could pursue options to try to send out more, was the bulk of it. Yeah, it costs about 600 was the bulk of it. Yeah, it costs about 600 and some odd dollars to mail it, but to create it itself, it was only about $230 or so.
No, it shouldn't be that much. Because I've done townwide mailings when I was on the school board, it's not that expensive.
I'm not positive. I'd have to look into
Yeah,
the total
it's not
cost, but
that
it was
expensive.
less than
It's just,
200.
it's something that's very time consuming to do. I know they do have a newsletter that appears on the school's Facebook page that comes, you know, because I'm a friend of Facebook, so I see that. I volunteered last year with the art teacher. I worked with her several months with kids.
Can I make a suggestion?
Pardon?
The Weirdest Times is a free newspaper. And
I don't know how many people really pick up the Weird Times. I pick it up for the
Okay, we're
coursework.
gonna circle back to the questions on hand. I think, Colleen, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, it's very similar. It was asking every,
3 versus 5 on the school board, we spent half an hour discussing 3 versus 5
Okay.
for the town, and you're rushing through the school, which has a budget of how many more millions of dollars than
I
the town.
wasn't rushing through, Linda, I was just, the size conversation was the cost on the postage for the postcards.
Well,
So, I know.
there are other we were talking about other ways to reach out. We have Alpaca Pals, which I'm on that, I don't have any kids, and that's primarily fundraising to keep the school budget lower, so that, well, wouldn't they just fund with the Carnations, a field trip to someplace?
Yeah, we brought in over like 700.
Yeah, so there are things, but getting that information out it's hard, I don't know, how many people read the Weirs Time? Yeah, it's a free paper that you never market
And I get the Bayside, and you get the Granite State News.
Yeah, it depends on
They
which
all
store
come
you're at.
through Wolfboro
It's hard.
and New Durham, Middleton.
It's hard to cover, yeah.
And
It is-
they will
it is
take
hard.
articles. They will take articles.
Okay,
suggestion.
Colleen, Jim, you gotta wait your turn. Colleen was next.
it's just very similar. It's asking everyone ideas on, you talk about there's not a lot of people showing up unless there's an issue. So how do you suggest for all of these meetings to get more residents involved, to get people to actually show up? Because, you know, everyone wants to criticize, oh, you post this on Facebook, this is going up, people are complaining, that's why they show up. Then what are your suggestions? What is everyone's suggestions on getting people to school board meetings, getting people to the meetings here?
So over the past couple of years, what I've done is try to do surveys online, find out what people are interested in, what their opinions are. Create the what's called newsletters and send out to everybody. It's done both on social media as well as printed out for people to read. Other things that I would be willing to try anybody's suggestion, whether it's getting through the, you know, saw various times. We find most people who show up for the different select board meetings is when there's an issue that they're very interested in. The only problem is a lot of times they don't know what those issues, what we're going to be discussing. So therefore, that's why, you know, so I've been trying to find ways to get the word out there so people know what is being discussed, and then they do show up, and then they have conversations.
Is there a way to get the one that you printed?
I mean,
You said you print one.
I
too.
print one out and I leave it here with the
Can
what's
school
called.
board stuff be included on it?
The school boards have, yes, I've actually included school board stuff. Samantha has sent information over to me, which has been put in and printed out and left here and left at other places.
So just to be clear, the newsletter.
It's not affiliated with the town.
Correct.
Yes.
So I
It's
guess,
something I do myself, so.
so the rest of the question can move along as to other people, what your thoughts are trying to get additional involvement. Because I agree, it is very difficult to get people to be on a board, on a committee, and as we can see, we have 2 openings, at least on the budget committee, we've had nobody sign up, so, Andrea?
We need a moderator.
Oh, and you need a moderator.
Yeah.
So,
For election day and town meeting.
so, I'll go to Jonathan, and I'll get to you, Janet.
Yeah. It's a tough thing to know. I don't know. Everywhere you seem to find it. I'm encouraged that there's been an increase in people going to school board meetings. You know, I mean, back 2 years ago, probably you were the one regular person, right? Maybe 2 years ago, maybe. Yeah, and then about a year and a half or so ago, Patty and I started going, or just under 2 years, we started going. She's gone more than I have. Try to be at as many of those as we can and to be here, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure of the way to do it, because even in very populated areas like Timberlane School District, their cooperative district, they had a hard time getting there's a gigantic population base there. They had a hard time filling, you know, like they had 700 people come out for the deliberative session. They may sound like a lot, but in their population base, it's not. I'm not really sure what the answer is. It's always probably going to be a small group of people, and it kind of moves as time goes on, who shows up. You see some of the regulars, and it's nice to see them all the time. I'm not sure. I've read some of the things, sometimes well-intended, but some of the things online, sometimes I think they'd be better coming from more of an official capacity, personally, than it's just facts, you know, and it's not. And I know the intent is probably just to encourage people, but sometimes I think just the facts is better, because